NigerJohnnyNet.com. Baba, 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 Baba. Shebi you want banga, Baba.
The fifth memorial lecture in honor of the late former governor of Ondo State, Dr. Olusegun Agagu, CON, themed Women, a Needed Force in Politics and the Polity, was held on Thursday, the 13th of September 2018 at the Civic Center, Victoria Island, Lagos. The memorial lecture was to mark exactly 5 years since Dr. Olusegun Agagu, CON, passed on to the great beyond. The event was graced by high-profile personalities from different walks of life, including the Emir of Kano, His Royal Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II, who chaired the occasion. Former President Republic of Malawi, Her Excellency Joyce Banda, who was the keynote speaker. Former Director UNAIDS, Professor Sheila Tluo. First female senior advocate of Nigeria, Chief Folake Sholanke, SAN, CON. Deputy Governor Ondo State, Mr. Agbola Ajayi. Former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Alhaja Senotu Ojikutu. Wife of former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, Mrs. Bola Obasanjo. Erelu Abiola Dosumo. Retired Vice Admiral Akintunde Aduwo, CFR. The Chairman and CEO, Biscon Communications, Prince Basil Atilo. Chief Sena Anthony. The Senior Pastor, Trinity House Ministries International, Pastor Itwai Godalo, as well as family members and friends of the Agagus. The fifth memorial lecture, which has now become a yearly event, was organized by the members of the Olusegun Agagu Foundation. The foundation is aimed at immortalizing the name and legacy of the late Dr. Olusegun Agagu in order to live up to and seek to actualize his personal credo, which is to leave things better than he met them, and to further the ideals he lived by and worked passionately towards: intellectual excellence, good governance, and national development. The event, which was compared by the Chairman and CEO Biscon Communications, Prince Basil Atilo, commenced with an opening prayer led by Elder Martins Okunfolami, after which the introduction of the speakers was handled by the compere. In the welcome remarks of the Chairman of the occasion, His Royal Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II, the Emir of Kano, he applauded women for taking a stand to speak up on issues affecting the women folk. He said, despite the fact that African women form the largest number of voters during elections, their issues are usually not addressed during political discourse. He added that women should not just clamor for political participation, but should seek to find more women that will be willing to fight for women issues and uplift the women folk in the society.
I do hope what we're going to hear today is not just about we want more women governors, more women senators, more women legislators, and it's important, more women ministers, but we want more women who are going to fight for women issues. Not the queen bees who get to positions and then forget those that are below them, and they don't want other women to rise. Having women in political position. When you talk about women in politics, there is a total absence of women in politics in the sense that women issues are not even discussed. I do not recall any debate by anyone seeking to be a governor or a senator or a member of the House or the president where I've heard issues like girl-child education, domestic violence, equality of pay, a fight against discrimination. They are not issues. And given the large number of women in Africa, given that they are the bulk of voters, is it not such a shame that they do the voting, but their issues are totally absent from political discourse?
The keynote speaker, former President of the Republic of Malawi, Her Excellency President Joyce Banda, began her remark on an appreciative note, after which she gave a brief background into the topic of the day: women, the needed force in politics. Her Excellency President Joyce Banda, who has spent her entire adult life promoting and supporting women and the girl child through economic empowerment programs, education, women health issues and human rights issues, said During her research paperwork as a distinguished fellow at the Woodrow Wilson Center in the United States of America on African women's participation in political leadership, she came across a scientific fact that leaders, whether male or female, are born with 30% leadership traits, while society adds up the remaining 70% in order to become the leaders that they were meant to be. Her Excellency Joyce Banda added that to build a critical mass of women leaders, we must start by investing in the girl child. She said in many parts of Africa, girls aged 1 to 10 are discriminated against when it comes to accessing education, especially when they are living in poverty. She stressed that in many cases, these girls fall victims to harmful traditions and cultural practices, and due to these challenges, they are less likely to develop the 70% leadership traits from the environment and not tap into the inborn 30%.
It is my honor and privilege to be here with you today to commemorate the life and legacy of Olusegun Agagu, an intellectual and a statesman who worked to leave things better than he made them. This is what we've been told again and again. He dedicated his life to further intellectual excellence, promote good governance, and the development of his country. I would like to thank the family for continuing to honor his legacy through the Olusegun Agagu Foundation and for choosing this year's theme to focus on women, the needed force in politics. The issues I discuss in that research paper are very relevant to the topic of today. To build a critical mass of women leaders, we must start by investing in the girl child. In many parts of Africa, girls aged 0 to 10 are discriminated against when it comes to accessing education, especially when they are living in poverty. In many cases, they fall victim to harmful traditional and cultural practices. Facing these challenges, girls are less likely to develop the 70% traits, leaving the 30% to go to waste. These challenges have rendered many women unable to realize their leadership potential because the 70% which society must shape and motivate is unavailable. It is my hope that decision makers will therefore implement policies and build programs that support, protect, and promote the girl child. It is also my sincere hope that our African governments will put more focus on investment in educating girls if we are to create an environment where women can succeed in becoming political leaders. What my government did in Malawi was to continue programs of improving infrastructure in schools, particularly building hostels so that more girls can attend secondary education in a secure environment. And I continue this work now through the Joyce Banda Foundation, which currently runs 3 schools, including one of only 2 free secondary schools in the country of Malawi.
Her Excellency Joyce Banda therefore called on decision makers to implement policies and build programs that supports, protect and promote the girl child, with a sincere hope that African governments will focus more on investing and educating girls by creating an environment where women can succeed to become leaders. In a reaction, His Royal Highness Muhammadu Sanusi II, the Emir of Kano, spoke on how his tenure as governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria helped raise women into different leadership positions at the bank. He urged all women seeking political positions to seek the interest of women and the girl child. He also admonished the male counterparts to make it a point of duty to address the many challenges facing women in the society today.
And while it is important to talk about women in politics, and I think we should talk about women in politics, the mistake we cannot make is to allow the male leaders of today, from the president to the governors to the emirs, to think that we should wait for women to come and solve these problems. It is our responsibility. These issues have to be addressed today, even before the women come up. And then when the women come up, hopefully they'll do it better than us. So I do hope that at the end of today, after all the talk about women, we'll also identify women issues. And please, all those women who are here, it's time for you to go into politics. There is no reason why Sholape Agagu cannot be governor of Ondo State. So please go out, seek political office. It's not enough to theorize. And the final thing that President Banda said, it was buried in her paper, but it's very crucial. For any human being who wants to introduce change to society, you must be ready to take a lot of heat. You must be ready for a backlash. You must be prepared for attacks, for abuse, for insult, for name calling, for fake news.
The first guest speaker, former director at the United Nations Program on HIV and AIDS, UNAIDS, Professor Sheila Tlo, in her address said, "The road to leadership is a milestone which has to be taken in steps." She said, when talking about gender inequality and women issues, it starts from the family, noting that parents should be enlightened in the important role they play in the upbringing of the girl child by motivating them towards leadership roles. Professor Sheila Tlo further noted that education is a powerful tool, and the girl child should not be deprived of this, but should be educated to the level of the male child, if not more. She admonished women to work more on being at the forefront of the political space to make the needed change in the interest of the women folk and the girl child.
It simply does show that when women lead and they really concentrate on issues that are happening at community level, they can bring about change. Because the change that the chiefs are bringing now at community level is the change that will be sustainable. We are really looking at sustainable development, and we know that if that change had only been legal, some of the marriages would be going underground. Leadership, it does start at family. But also, one of the lessons I would like to give is simply to say that knowledge is power. In the ultimate, we are talking girl-child education. But we need to ensure that it's not the education that is rampant, that is running around. We're saying in Africa, at least 9 years of schooling. At least the MDG said so. But 9 years of schooling makes you a glorified house servant. A house servant who can read and write. That's all. We need, therefore, under sustainable development, to say we need girls who are skilled and who can work and be economically dependent, and therefore independent, and therefore able to make decisions for themselves.
Afterwards, Chief Folake Solanke, SAN, CON, the first female senior advocate of Nigeria, mounted the podium to deliver her address. In her address, she appreciated the Olusegun Agagu Foundation for finding her worthy to be a part of the program. She applauded the vision and mission of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu and commended the efforts of Mrs. Funke Agagu, widow of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu, who she described as a daughter, having taught her many years ago at Yejido Girls Grammar School, Ibadan. Chief Folake Solanke, in her analysis of the theme of the 5th memorial lecture tagged Women, a Needed Force in Politics and the Polity, described the theme as vocal, logical and germane, stating that in respect to the topic of discussion, women must have the capacity to add value to politics and the polity for good governance. Chief Folake Solanke used biblical explanations to establish the fact that, right from the beginning, God supported gender equality. She cited examples from the Bible to further drive her point. Chief Folake Solanke, however, noted that both men and women are needed for national development, for politics and the polity to thrive. She charged both men and women to work together to end male dominance in the society.
It is both my joy and a personal duty to participate in this propitious remembrance event as the guest speaker. I also thank everyone for all their courtesies extended to me since my arrival yesterday. I salute the Agagu family for establishing the Olusegun Agagu Foundation, whose admirable mission is to immortalize the name and legacy of the late Dr. Olusegun Agagu, live up to and seek to actualize his personal credo, which was to leave things better than he met them, and to further the ideals he lived by and worked passionately towards, particularly intellectual excellence, good governance, and national development. I applaud the mission, the broad scope of which will feature projects and programs for its implementation through the focal area. Now to the theme, Women, a Needed Force in Politics and the Polity. May I respectfully endorse all that previous speakers have spoken.
The goodwill message was said by the Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Mr. Agbola Ajayi, after which guests at the occasion gave brief contributions to the topic of the day.
Now, I want to appeal to the Agagu family and to the committee handling this Agagu Foundation. You will have really seen how we appreciate it. If you can just as a matter of appreciation, take this program to Ondo State 1 year. Ondo State government will be ready to foot the bill and see how people move out and see how the people will do that. On the final note, sir, we have also prepared of announcing to my brother that the government will be the one to announce it, and we are also prepared to celebrate better than those times. Maybe sometimes in February next year, God willing.
Plaques of honor were later presented to the speakers, who took turns to receive them. The daughter of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu, Mrs. Sholakbe Hammond, who is an executive member of the foundation, also gave an update on the progress made so far by the foundation, future prospects, and the need to further give back to society.
Over the years, the foundation has had quite a bit of impact. We've run 5 memorial lectures, this is the 5th one. Always held on the anniversary of his passing, so please go to your calendars for next year. Civic Center, 12 o'clock for cocktails and 1 p.m. for the lecture. Existing bursaries and cash prizes that were instituted while my father was alive have been carried on and increased. Indeed, we have given out 168 awards and prizes so far. 29 of these were done over the past year, and there are 20 more that will be added going forward from this year, 10 of which have been donated by the family and 10 by some members of the board. So again, we'll be doing even more by next year. We'll probably be over 200 in terms of awards and scholarships and prizes. So please feel free to support us. Put your donation in the envelope. If you don't have a donation, feel free to reach out to any of us or the members of the board to figure out how you can contribute. There's no contribution that is too small. You can endow a scholarship. You can give a prize for 10,000 naira for excellence. Whatever it is you want to do to support people and promote excellence, in partnership with us, we'll be happy to support.
After that, the Excel Choral serenaded guests to cool music, after which a minute's silence was observed in honor of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu. The vote of thanks was delivered by Mr. Feyi Agagu, a member of the Board of Trustees of the Olusegun Agagu Foundation and son of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu. The occasion was brought to an end with a closing prayer led by Mrs. Bola Obasanjo. From BISCON Communications, we congratulate the organizers of the Olusegun Agagu Foundation on the successful hosting of the 5th Memorial Lecture in honor of late Dr. Olusegun Agagu, and we pray his soul continues to rest in the bosom of our Lord. Amen. Lord.